Hi, I'm Dr. Julie at Endeavor Health and Chiropractic, and we're going to try this one more time. Uh, um, Today we're talking about the healing equation when you've pushed it to the last minute. A lot of us like to procrastinate. Maybe not the word like, because we know it's not right, but a lot of us do procrastinate. And this being tax season, I thought it was a great time to talk about procrastination of anything, but most importantly, taxes. Mostly because in previous years, my husband would say, okay, well, you said you were going to do the taxes, started at the beginning of February. And a couple weeks later, you said you were going to do the taxes. And a couple weeks later, it's March, you said you were going to do the taxes. And this keeps going, and I keep getting grumpy and angry. And yes, I did say I was going to do the taxes, and I always do get them done before April, except for one instance when we had our firstborn, and I just couldn't, my brain just couldn't figure it out. So what happens when we've pushed it to the last minute? If we think about it in terms of the healing equation, energy to heal equals good energy in minus stressors. A task that we need to get done that we have resistance for is a stressor. And it is taking our energy to heal. It is just sucking it. And if we know that we have to do it, at the beginning of February, and we don't get it until the second week of April, we have had 2 months of resistance. We've had 2 months where we've had to hold the resistance for that activity and try to ignore it. The brain has tried to use good energy in to kind of stifle it, and our energy to heal goes down. So what do we do when we have a task that needs to get done and we're putting it off? What we're feeling is resistance. That resistance. And resistance can come up in two different ways. One, it is something really important. Bungee jumping off a bridge, jumping to the middle of the air without, with just a bunch of rubber bands behind you, may be a good resistance. It may be you saying, nope, you just don't need to do this. But sometimes we have resistance because we perceive that the stress of the activity is so much bigger than it actually truly is. How many of us have had the situation where we have worried about an event for so long, and then we do it and it takes like 5 minutes? I had multiple experiences of that this week where I just worried about the event. I sat down and did it, and I got done in like 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, all that weight that I had been carrying with me about the worry of that event vanished. And my body went, oh, hey, you have a little bit more energy to heal. You don't have to hold space for that activity anymore. What were you thinking? So I wanted to work through that process with you a little bit. Sometimes when we have a task that we're really afraid of, it's because in the past we have drowned doing it. Taxes are a great example. How many of you have put off taxes till the last possible minute and you've had to sit down and do them in 8 hours? Just nose to grindstone, get it done. And it's taken you 8 hours because in that 8-hour time span, you have had to grab every single piece and find it. Half the time that you're doing the taxes is that you're looking underneath the couch for a receipt that you know is there, but you can't find it. And every time you bring up the idea of taxes, that drowning, that I've got to do 8 hours of just all of this is going to just totally kick your butt. You don't want to do it. That resistance is you scaring yourself more for a task that if you just took a few deep breaths and said, I have 2 months to complete this task, how can I break it into steps that are easy, sane, and that I can reward myself for at each stage? Well, let's take a look at taxes. All right, let's say you want to break it down into 5 stages. You've got a week. You're like, I can do this in a week. I really can. And you don't want to work every day because, like Wednesdays are really busy family days, and Saturday you really want to have an event with your kids, so you don't want to be blocked up doing that. So you say, all right, on Monday, I am going to get all of my forms done. 15 to 30 minutes. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to find my forms. I'm going to put a little sticky note that says exactly what they are, whose they are, how I'm going to use them, what this information is going to come up as, And then if I think, oh, you know what, I don't have Jane's W-2. I need to go find that. You can find that. And that is all you do for one day. You do that little chunk. And when you get it done, you say, yay, I organized my forms. Look at how wonderful I am. I am not digging under the couch looking for a receipt. Yay. I am not yelling at somebody, where did you put that? I am just saying, I organized the forms. And if you don't have something, you can ask somebody for it without having to say, we have 2 hours left before we can file. So, I've never done that. So now you take care of that activity and you reward yourself for accomplishing it. Maybe a couple chocolate chips. Maybe walk around the park. Who knows? Then the next day you organize your receipts, your moving receipts, your business receipts, your school receipts, whatever. The next day is 15 to 30 minutes organizing the receipts. The next day after that is, Wednesday, so you don't do anything, and that's okay. You program that into your schedule. Thursday, you spend 15 to 30 minutes organizing the miscellaneous stuff. Friday, you have all of your organization, and you say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour, and that's it. An hour entering in everything into the tax program that I have, and if something makes me worry as I get through there, I just write a note and say, hey, you know what? I need to remember. Or some programs allow you to bookmark things. You're like, oh, I'm going to bookmark that so I come back to it. Just write yourself a note. Make sure that you go back and check this, because I think Susie has this other form that if I have that, it's something that I need that will help me in my taxes. You're only going to spend an hour on it. And again, not freaking out, just plugging in information. If you have questions, work on them. Saturday, another family activity. You've already done 3/4 of your taxes. Sunday, you crack down on your questions. Maybe you need to go into Monday because there are other people that are involved, and you finish up everything there. And lo and behold, on Monday, you can finalize your taxes, send them in, and everybody's okay. Cool. You just took something that took you 8 hours and most of it panicking on one day, and you broke it into like 4 hours because you didn't stress and you weren't pulling your hair out and you didn't have low energy in to begin with. And you could reward yourself for the little bits along the way. So how do we do that in a practical sense? I mean, I just laid out a plan for taxes, but you can lay out a plan for anything that you have resistance to, that you have to get done all the time, or anything that you have resistance to that you panic about, so you put it off at the last minute frequently. You can use a couple of different things. There's, back in the 90s and the noughts, there was the Palm Pilot, and that was, of course, the precursor to your smartphone. And the Palm Pilot took tasks and broke them down into their little bits so that you could work on the little bits, and then you could work up a level, and then you could work up a level, and finally you were done. There is a program, an app online called Asana that I believe is free. Actually, I know is free. And you could do the same thing there. You can take any task, you can break it down into steps. You can say, on this day, I'm doing step 1. And I have done this for tasks in the past where I've just said, you know what, today I'm going to spend 5 minutes looking for this information. And yeah, there are a couple of days where I was like, I'm going to spend 30 minutes writing this out, or an hour writing this out. But I broke it into the little steps so that I didn't have to freak out about the fact that I had to do this one whole thing by Thursday. No, 2 weeks before, I was doing little bits that led up to the point that by Thursday, everything was mostly done because I just spread the work out. And the cool thing about Asana is when you check things off, you get a little unicorn with a rainbow flying out its butt, I think. And it makes you feel good. And that's good energy in. So taking a big task that stresses you out, breaking into its little chunks, and rewarding yourself for finishing those little chunks is good energy in. First, actually actively doing something on that task and not letting it sit on the back burner also relieves stress. Even just having a plan and saying, I am planning to do this here, and just do those little chunks also relieves stress, and you have more energy to heal, which means you have more energy to do your task. So you can use automated activities. You can use things like asana. You can just break things down into a list and break it down into chunks. Either way, that makes the resistance for that activity that you didn't want to do because last time you did it, you drowned, go away. It pulls out that stressor so that you have more energy to heal. And if you break it into little steps, you get good energy in for actually rewarding yourself for getting those little things finished. So I do not see any side effects that are bad for taking a stressful activity, breaking it into bits, and distributing those bits across a time frame that you can get done in a reasonable way without freaking yourself out. So just remember that pushing activities to the last minute is a significant way to reduce your energy to heal. You know, students getting ready for finals, they're pushing everything to the last minute. Their energy to heal goes down. They get sick after they do it. Sometimes they get sick leading up to it. So if you can stretch it out, you know it's coming, stretch it out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the event, and do 15 to 30 minutes of it each time, you will not ruin your body and your energy to heal. Remember that when we experience resistance, we need to evaluate it. Is it reasonable? Is this something that you shouldn't be doing? Jumping off a bridge with rubber bands? Or is this resistance because we're scared? And if we're scared, can we break it down into reasonable steps that we can reward ourselves for accomplishing it rather than carrying around that fear with us and that fear dragging down our energy to heal? All right. I hope this has been helpful. This is the second time I tried to do this video, so hopefully it will work. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Take care.